So I bought these tabs, and then I've got the -3 fitting. It'll go through, and the 3/16 brake line will screw in here. It's a flare fitting, and then I have the -3 AN line to run. And my intention is to mount this somewhere like right in this area on the C-notch, and then that way I can run the brake line up and it'll be secured to that, and then I'll have the hose run off down to the rear end and then run my lines across. Here's what I just came up with. I'm going to tack it and see how it fits. So that'll give me that angle I'm talking about. And then I've got this triangular piece that's gonna give it a little bit of rigidity. So I'll weld up this side. I'm gonna fill in that hole, get that all cleaned up, and then that'll be able to be tacked on there. And then I'll be able to get access to all of that. So let's do this. So I've moved some stuff around, fixing to have to get the front end up. I'm going to be working on doing the front brake lines. And the TinWorks front end kit has these tabs right here for doing the brake line fittings. I don't have access to be able to open these holes up. There's one on both sides. So I'm going to have to break the front suspension down to get the cross member out so that I can open those up. It is what it is. Once I do that, I'll be able to just work on the cross member and figure out how I'm going to run my brake lines. I'm thinking that what I want to do is I want to run them over and have them run underneath here and then up to this side. But if I put them underneath these motor mount risers, then I won't have to worry about anything pinching them. They'll be down. I've got clamps. I can drill small holes in here to put the clamps in to hold them in place, and it'll just look nice and clean, and I can get it all set up. These are the adjustment cam washers that go on the lower control arm bolts, and as this turns, it moves the control arms in and out, but they're free. I know on factory style things that are done like this, the bolt's got shoulders cut into it, and the washer has flats on both sides of the hole so it keys in. This isn't set up like that, so what I'm thinking is if I can get it welded, just a TIG weld all the way around to lock the washer to the bolt, then you'd be able to put a socket on there and you turn it and the washer is going to turn with the bolt. Because once it tightens up, there's not going to be a lot of tension on it. It'll be locked down, but that'll make it easier to do alignments on it. All right, so I started working on the brake lines for the front. I ended up taking the cross member out because it's easier to work on the bench than on that. So my plan is to run, I've got a 3 block here, run a line down across to this side to this. This is just a 2-port block for the front brake lines, and then I'll have another line coming off the top and going over here where the -3 fitting is to go to the right front, and the same thing here from here to here for the left front, and then there's a port in the back that will go to the master cylinder. So I've got hold downs that I'm going to be using, and I bent this out of stainless steel. Stainless steel is no joke, and I'm not happy. I mean, it fits in there and it seals up, but I'm not happy with the way it turned out. So I got a spool of copper nickel, and I'm going to use this and put this in to bend this line, and eventually I'll put another hold down probably right here in the middle, but for right now that's what I've got. So I don't have these riv nuts installed all the way, but I countersunk these so that they'll set down flush, because if you just put them in regular, when you drill the hole, they set proud and there's a gap, and I want them to sit flush. So I countersunk it. I did the same with these ones over here. I've got the riv nuts installed for these blocks. So the next thing, I was watching some videos on this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces of line, and I am going to do specific angles of bend on them so that I can lay these up like right here. If I get a 45 in it, I'll be able to say, okay, that's the way I want it, and then I can mark and then bend the line that I'm going to put in. So I'm going to use this copper nickel line to build the line, and once I get it the way I want it, then I will duplicate it in the stainless. Although I will say, took some Neverdull to the copper nickel, and that shines up pretty good, and that's still some pretty hefty stuff. It's easier to work with than the stainless. The stainless shines up pretty good, but you can see marring in it. It's not as smooth, so I'll decide as we go. So right now I'm going to go ahead and bend some known angles into these, and I'll mark them, and then that way I have angle templates to work with. Also, something else I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on these where 0 degrees is. So I'll go and I'll mark all of them to 0, and that way I know. I'm going to put a mark all the way around it. That way I know how far the bend goes. So I'm going to do all of those real quick. On the tool, it has a 0, so when I put this in, I'll line that mark up to 0, and then whenever I get ready to start bending, I'll get that to 0, and then you follow it around to find your thing. So I get that to 0, and I hold it and bring this around till I'm lined up, and I'm going to take this, just pull it around. I'm going to come around until the 0 hits that mark in between the 45 and the 90, which is right there. Back it up, and we'll see how that fits. I had this set up with this line here that I made to go up, to have these facing to where the lines came up into them. And it's not working out. So I've got the line made, but I'm not happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I've changed the orientation of these. I'm going to have the lines come across, go over, come up, and then come into from the side. And that's going to make it a little bit easier to get these lines bent. So I've straightened out a piece of tube. I'm going to mark the center of it, and I've got the center line marked here. So I'll get the center line marked, and then I will mark where my bends are going to be. I think I'm going to do a 45 over off both sides, and then do the angle up is a 67.5 roughly. I'll get the angle up, and then I can do the lines in sideways and get those lined up. I'll have a line from here that just comes out and basically makes a 90, and this one as well. I'll probably do a little bit of an S just to make it a little bit easier for them to go into these. But I think that's going to be the easiest way to do this, because then once I get done doing it in this, I'm going to decide if I'm going to go with the stainless steel, which I have stainless steel that I can do that if I need to. Let's get this marked and get to bending. So I made a standard for the flare fittings. I took a piece of tube and I cut it to exactly 1 inch, and then I flared the end of it so that I could get a standard. And now when I put this in, I can screw this in and snug it down, mark in line with the bottom, and I know from that line out I need to cut 1 inch to have enough to get the flare correct. Just little things to try to make it a little bit easier. Alright, so get my flaring tool set up in the vise, just like so. Handle in. Go ahead and roll this around. So now all I need to do is cut these 2 tubes off at that mark that I made, and get a nut on them, and get them flared. And then I will decide after I get that done if I'm going to go try to duplicate this in stainless or if I'm just going to leave it in this copper nickel. I got both ends cut. Got a deburr, so I have a little chamfering bit on my cordless impact, 1/4 inch impact. Just chamfer the inside of it just to clean it up. Then we put on a nut, and so we're going to set this in, and we're going to put this in, lock it in, and I'm going to snug this down just a hair. And then with it on the stop, we push this in till it bottoms out, and then we lock this down all the way. And that sets our depth. Then we are going to roll it to operation 1 for 3/16. I'm going to take a little bit of brake fluid and brush it on the die, and then we pull it through till it stops. It's operation 1, and we do it for 3/16 for operation 2 and put a little bit more brake fluid on there, and then we pull it through. And then we can loosen up the die. Get the die off of it. Clean it up. And we have a perfect 3/16 flare. You just got to be real careful and remember to put your nut on before you flare it, because if you don't, you screw up. And you got to make sure that you put it on the right way. The thread should go towards the end. Put it on that way, stuck. So I think this approach that I just used on this side, or on this one, worked out a lot better than the way I was originally doing it. So on my 67, I ordered a brake line kit from either LMC or CPP, and it was stainless steel. It worked out great. It's pre-bent. This thing, because of this cross member and the suspension setup, using one of them is not going to work. So I'm happy with the way that looks. It's not going anywhere, shouldn't interfere with anything. Let's get one of the motor towers and verify. Okay, so this is one of the motor mount towers, and this actually happens to be the one for this side. And as you can see up underneath there, there's plenty of room. Everything's going to be out of the way. So mission accomplished. Very happy with the way that looks. It's secure, it's clean. I'll polish up that brake line, and I think I'm just going to stick with the nickel copper. Like I said, I'm happy with the way that looks. Got stainless steel flare nuts. the nickel copper and then the black aluminum hold downs. I'm very happy with that. So the next thing is to make the line to come off of here and go to the inverted flare to 3AN brake fitting on both sides. That should be pretty quick and easy. All right, YouTube. Spent a lot of time getting this line bent the way I want it. So when it comes across here, getting this one bent, and I got the one over here bent. And while I was finishing everything up, I found out that there's an issue. So this is a piece of nickel copper. Does not stick with the magnet. I bought a spool off of Amazon. Ain't supposed to do that. Looks pretty close to the same, bends about the same. This is steel line with a copper coating on it. And it was advertised on Amazon as true nickel copper or copper nickel alloy, but it's not. So if you buy brake line off of Amazon, when you get it, see if it's ferrous, because it should not, there should not be enough nickel content in it for a magnet to stick. So all that time I spent doing that line was wasted. So now I'm at a point where I have to take the line back off. I got a spool of true nickel copper line, and I'm gonna have to make a new line. Good thing is that I have this one set up and I have all my clamps and everything, so I can use this as a template to get one done correctly. But it's just kind of frustrating that that happened. But guess I shouldn't have been so trusting, especially with Amazon. So again, if you buy in line off of Amazon, put a magnet on it and see if it's steel or not. So this is the line that goes across and connects into the blocks. And like I said, it's got enough that, because that's not a super strong magnet, but so I would just use this as a template to make a new line. Got all my bend marks and where I marked with the Sharpie, so that's all still there. So it should be fairly easy to duplicate and get that done. So all right, so here we go. Got a piece of true nickel copper. I measured out, got the right length. So now all I need to do is I need to mark the center of this so I can put it in here. I've still got marks on the cross member. So this is, we'll go with 36.5 inches. Okay, so that's going to be 18.25 should be center line. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this and make me a center line mark all the way around this. All of this I'll be able to clean off. I can use brake cleaner or Never-Dull. here's what I got. So I've got the inverted flare to -3 AN. So this is where the brake hose will come to go to the caliper. And then I have these blocks I got off of Amazon. Got the line coming across, and I got these clamps that are, I mean, it's held in there. And then I got this one, and that one's set, and that's all. There's the cap I made, but that's all set up. So now I can set the cross member back in. I am going to tag left and right on these with a piece of tape, just so that they're tagged. And eventually what I'll do, this stuff polishes up really nice. So before I do final install, I will go through and I will polish all of these lines up and make them nice and shiny before they go in. And I think it'll set them off on the black background. So this one, once I get everything done and I figure out cab placement, I'll probably take another clamp and have a clamp over here and have this line come up and do like a slight loop. And I don't know, we'll see whenever I get to that point, but this line will run over and go to the proportioning valve, which is connected to the master cylinder. I don't know, maybe I'll take it inside the frame rail and run it, have it kind of loop around. I don't know, we'll see once I get to that point. But for now, it's time to start putting all this stuff back in so I can get this down on the ground again, and then roll it out and get this shop cleaned up. So there we are.